Hi, Sarzah. it's Marcia. I hope you haven't called me and I haven't picked up because I haven't got your telephone number memorized the way I should, and I might not recognize it. And I want to work on recognizing it right now when I hang up. I'll memorize it so that I never hang up on you. Let me know how you're doing. Here, it's very limited. I mean, by that, we are soon not supposed to leave our rooms. Can you imagine such a thing? That's in 2 more days. But we will somehow get through this. I'm sure we will. But I want to know about you. So give me a call, darling, and I do think of you and I hope everything's going with you as well as it can under the circumstances and that you're healthy. Okay, I am healthy. I'm just a little bored, but that's nothing. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye. I love you.
We will somehow get through this, were Marcia's words in her last voicemail. It was March 24th, 2020. It had been 11 days since the lockdown. We were hoping to get back to our regular lives soon. The newness of the pandemic felt strange, a bad science fiction movie. But it would never be the same again because the people who were part of our lives before the pandemic have gone on to live in essence, leaving this cage of limbs and bones. Marcia, I want to believe that you are here in this call and that you can hear us and that you know how much more you meant to me, much, much more than the times I failed to call you. In our short span of time together, we have countless memories with clatters of pots and plates, whistling of kettles, fuming hot smoke from the evening tea, and the gliding of your chocolate chip mint ice cream onto the bowl, melting into a pool. Our evenings were festive. It was never quiet. These are the sounds and sights in which I found you and will keep finding you. You knew me for 6 short years, and now I will know you for the rest of my life. You are still in Ridgewood, the last apartment you shared with the love of your life. You are surrounded by the warm olive walls, looking for your reading glasses, and at some point, you just give up. You wait for me to get home, make dinner, listen to NPR or music on your Alexa. Sometimes you shouted back at Alexa. If she did not hear you, then you would say sorry to her. I was your roommate after Bernie, and you had said that you felt like a wife waiting for her husband to get home as you waited for me. Marcia, I wonder if the new tenants in your home changed the color of your walls. I wonder where your flower plants are. I wonder who is watering them. I wonder if they are one with nature just as you are. I wonder if the sun still shines through the blinds, and I wonder if the hallway to your apartment smells the same. I imagine that after the world heals from its wound, I will visit you again and you will be standing right by your door, extending your arms just as you did with a smile and call me darling. You said that no matter what happens, we will always be friends. Once you asked me to stand next to you and hold your hand while you went through Bernie's pottery books. As you put each and every one of them in the giveaway pile, you kissed them, you hugged them, you held them in the grip of your trembling tiny fingers and said, "Goodbye, Bernie." I stood there with you, but after you had retired to your room, I cried. I wondered how many goodbyes you've had to say in your life of 92 years. You were 92 years old when we were roommates. There were evenings where you'd ask me to read poetry. There were evenings where I would hide and steal your favorite cookies from the jar, but you always knew that I was doing that. However, there is one thing I never told you, and that is during your afternoon naps on the weekends, I would run to the Indian restaurant and get lunch because I never wanted you to know that the tuna sandwich or the corn that you offered was not enough. You had a tinier appetite than mine, but a bigger heart. I always asked you about your brother. He looks exceptionally poised and handsome in the black and white picture on your wall. As we shared our past, present, and future, we would get lost and slip into the stories and secrets of your girlhood, your life at Scripps, how you left home and made your own living, about the parties and the boys and the girls, about how you met Bernie and your life after Bernie, about old and new neighbors, relatives and their children and their children's children, about phone calls and audiobooks, and about the entire village. Sometimes I wish I recorded them, Marcia. I don't remember all the trials and triumphs we talked about. Maybe they are meant to be a secret. And maybe I will remember what you said on occasions. And maybe these stories that our minds struggle to get back to will be burnt and buried in us for the rest of time. When you were looking through the floor plans for Mill's garden, you were puzzled. You knew that this is something you had to do even if you didn't quite love the idea of it. We sat together trying to understand the pros and cons of leaving your apartment. When it was close to making a decision and the landlord was already hunting for a tenant for your home, your heart was still here at 158 Union Street. Where are you, Marcia? Maybe you're home again. Maybe you're young again. All the creases of old age have disappeared from your face. Maybe you were in Cornwall in southwest England. You said you loved that place. Maybe you're on the cliff guarded by a labyrinth of lush green, filling in your lungs with fresh air and looking at the ocean. Ocean as deep as your promise to be better. You were a lifelong learner. You eventually learned to watch the bad news and stopped switching channels as you knew that most of the heartbreaking news was coming from my part of the world. You learned to hear stories that were completely new to you. You tried spicy South Asian food only to cool your parched mouth in ice cream, but you tried. You commanded the streets of Ridgewood with your canes and brought cars to a halt as you glided across the street, defying any season to take your short walks and sit at the park, looking at the leaves falling in silence. I would walk next to you, always alert, and thinking that if you were to fall, I'd catch you. We'd bond on Jhumpa Lahiri's novels, which felt like they never ended on a happy note, on families and hearts that grow together and grow apart with time. When I left Ridgewood, Marcia, I thought about carrying you up the stairs in our Cambridge apartment when we spoke about Mill's garden on the phone. You were learning the way of life in a new place. You were trying to make new friends and you succeeded. You were trying to like their food, which I am not sure if you eventually liked, but you tried. Marcia, you were too colorful and alive for a 94-year-old. You knew how to celebrate life, and each day with you felt like a new day. You knew how to engage all 5 senses: The joy of preparing for an evening with you is something I will never forget. When we last met, you were awake, sitting up on a hospital bed, still talking, but I never imagined that to be our last meeting. In our last phone conversation a few days before you left, your words clung to each other so tight that I couldn't take them apart or understand. But I understood your last 3 words. I love you. I still believe that when the world heals from its grief, we will see each other again. As we celebrate your life and your transition into the other realm today, I still wish, Marcia, I still wish that you left the world in a better place. But maybe in your heart you always knew that we will somehow get through this. A beacon of light, hope, and happiness you were, Marcia. A mother with a warm heart who loved her sons. There was not a single day that went by without you mentioning your sons. A grandmother who texted her grandchildren from her old-fashioned phone, even when your trembling fingers kept failing you and you had to keep pushing harder. I saw how impossible it was to type one word on that phone, but you still did it. A friend whose doors were always open to neighbors when they wanted to come in to share happiness or grief. A wife with love whose affection transcended from this world to the next. A woman who was not only well-read, a time traveler emerging from the constraints of her time. A lover of many seasons, tastes, cultures, and languages, a bridge that somehow connected all that surrounded her. In perfection and imperfection, you bloomed.